How many people are you expecting, Krista? Do you know?
You know, it's always hard to tell who's going to be on. Here we start to bring some folks on. You know, hello, hi Brenda. Gonna see who else joins us here. Oh, I guess it's 12:01. Still have a few minutes of getting people to join. All right, wait 1 second. Welcome.
Hi, Brenda.
Hi, how are you?
All right, love. Good to see you. Thanks for joining.
We are just waiting for others to join us. Let's see.
How are you guys this morning?
I love your shirt, Brenda.
Hippie soul?
Hippie soul. I didn't even see the soul part. Yes.
Yeah, that's me.
That's awesome.
Hippie soul, yes. Peace, love, and all that.
Yeah. So we'll give it a few minutes. How is everything out in your neck of the woods, Brenda?
Beautiful. And it's just, our weather's starting to turn into fall. So it's getting colder, unfortunately. So it's not as much on the beach.
Yeah.
Maria's here.
Maria's here. Well, that's good. I kind of looking forward to fall after all this. We've had a lot of hot weather, but
It doesn't get hot here. That's the nice thing. I mean, it gets up to this 80s maybe, and that's when it's warm.
Yeah, and Mel has had hot weather. She just had a storm in the UK, in London, and kind of
Oh my.
had half her garden in the neighbor's garden.
Oh no.
Yeah, just before I was due to come on, Brenda. It's all very dramatic here. But yeah, we've had 30 degrees, 32 degrees. It's been hot, and it's not it's like in London, to be that hot in London, it's just harsh. You know, we're not designed for the hot weather. A lot of places don't have air conditioning. You know, it's just,
How miserable.
Well, it is what it is. And now a storm is coming. But yeah, it's been uncomfortable, and I really normally love the sun, so it's been a struggle not to be able to appreciate it and just be like,
Yeah.
I know it is hard in Europe when you get those heat waves, because it's not up. Gina and I experienced that, and when we were in Amsterdam a couple of years for the international. It was like 105 degrees, and so it was interesting.
No.
Yeah, that was harsh, wasn't it? Because it was August there. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, hot.
We're just waiting. So, I don't know. We got a quiet group. Let me see. 1 second. Someone just emailed me, said they had a conflict. Maria, you're doing all right? You're on chat.
Hello, you guys hear me?
Oh, hi.
Hi, Maria.
Hey, Maria. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hey.
How are you doing, Maria?
I'm hanging in there.
Yeah.
You know, trying to do as best as we can with what we got.
Yeah.
And how about you guys? Are you guys doing good?
Yeah, you know, we're same old as you. I think everyone's just doing our best, I think. One day at a time.
Yep.
We've got, you know,
Yes.
news with our announcement yesterday. Hey, there's my mom. So, right?
What happened? What's the news?
Oh, I said the good news with the vice presidential.
Oh yeah, Kamala. Well, I like it. I like them, and I know a lot of people are attacking, but I think that was a good pick.
I think, that's what I think everyone can find something to, I mean, no one's perfect. We know that much. And, there's definitely some stuff that's happened in the past, but I think we have to focus on
the good.
The good. Hey,
That's what I told them, but it's ironic that they criticize and they attack, but they don't say anything about Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's okay. So thank you for joining. So
hey y'all, sorry. I just wanted to say
no, that's
okay.
all right.
All right. Thank you. Whoever texted me, thank you. I'm sorry. I got the reminder last week, the reminder yesterday, and the link today, and I still forgot.
No, I know there's a lot going on. So yes. Thank you for coming on. I know Portia's supposed to come on. It's we were talking too about the series, because I mean, we love the series, but more people are not at home right now. Like there's people having to be out and about and going back to work, so it's kind of a slightly different. But we've got some. It's all you. I don't have to talk about the series in general, but but I do want to just mention that in addition to Mel, who's going to present a mindfulness and finding the peace in the storm, which we all need right now, and she'll tell you a little bit more about that. And also, just so, did we lose Mel? It looks like we lost Mel. And I'm not going to be the one to.
I don't see her either.
I know. Okay, let's see. I'm sure she'll be back on.
Maybe
I was going to say
daughter.
how you were talking about how people are out of the house now. Like this literally looks so much different than when we started it. Was it March or April?
Yeah, it was very beginning of April.
Yeah, and things are so much different, and it's still so much anxiety around it all. I was telling somebody earlier, you Google something and see if the place is open, and they say it's open, and then you get there and it's closed, and then you got to figure out, real quick what you're going to do now.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's real weird, really weird.
I agree. I mean, it's in one way, it's like the world's trying to go back to normal, but then, everything you hear is that we're actually in a worse spot in some ways than we were a few months ago. So,
I think that has a lot to do with the fact that people are afraid to reimagine what the world could look like, and they're really wanting to hold on to what it used to look like, and not realizing that we're in a different time. People are still dying of coronavirus, and New York made headway, but they're the only people. Everybody else is seeing horrible numbers, and we have allowed that person who sits in our house to tell us what we should be doing. And we've allowed rich people to tell us that all we're worth to them is to die. That's what we're worth, because it's the essential workers, it's the frontline people that are out there having to interact with people. And I get so angry when I see all these people going off about masks,
yeah.
And it's like, we'll never get back to any kind of life if we don't do some things right now. And we're not willing to do that.
When you talk about essential workers, and what usually pops in my head is the nurses and EMTs and stuff, but it's so much bigger than that. I'm an essential worker. I've been driving Uber and Lyft, delivering people food, and just how much grace we are not offering each other, in this time. I'm going out here risking my life to go pick up your food, and you still going to report me because it was late. well, where is the grace? You know, I don't know. And seeing that everybody, like, we calling them from different places. And in my life, I'm in Philly. To see Atlanta be open and open, and to see those pictures on the internet, my mind isn't able to connect how us in the United States were still so, like, we're not on the same page.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, but
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here with y'all.
Yeah, no, it is. It's really, I mean, it is that how politicized it's gotten. It's hard to believe. And, you know, I just read that. Hey,
Okay.
yay. Welcome back. Sorry. Is everything okay?
Everything's okay. I'm back.
All right.
My
Good.
laptop decided it needed to update just at that time, and then I panicked and thought, okay, I'll go on my phone, and then it all just got complicated. So actually, I'm still on my phone. Hang on, let me get rid of that. Oh,
We all have that, so
It's
we were
frustrating.
doing so well.
we get double Mel. Yeah, no, that has happened to me more times than I can count when my computer decides to update right before I'm supposed to go online. So, all right, well, yeah.
You know, we're repeating history, though. Even with the non-maskers and being political and everything, that's how it was with the 1918 flu. I mean, it's exactly like it. It's kind of scary how
Yeah.
much it is like it.
Yeah, no, it is. It's intense.
We're repeating history.
I don't know. I'm not sure what to think about all of it. I mean, I know what to think about it, but it's kind of mind-boggling at times, you know. I mean, even just like hearing that kids to wear masks at school. Well, it's like, I mean, you mandate so many other things about
Right, exactly.
like, how come this is, you know, that half the kids in America wear uniforms to school and have to have, you know, all these different dress codes and, you know, so it seems
Exactly.
so,
Can mandate what they wear. Why can't you mandate what they wear?
yeah.
On their face, exactly. As my cousin put it, which is very close to home in my current experience right now, and this is the last thing I'll say. My cousin's like, when parents say, "Oh, I can't make my child wear a mask," or, you know, what if they don't do it. She's like, "You didn't give up on potty training."
Yeah.
Try again, and sooner or later, you know, the habit is adopted.
Yeah.
But it's true. I mean, the things that people are and again, it's just because we have no strong model to follow that say you can do this.
Right. Well,
in fact, the opposite is true. So
yeah.
So, all right. Well, I think
on that note,
get started and try and calm our mind. And I'll just quickly mention that our next session before before we introduce Mel, our next session is going to be in a couple weeks, and it's led by Masanya Trailer, who's going to talk about parenting in the time of COVID, which I think is really important. And just from several talks I've had with Masanya, I feel like it'll be really helpful to many of us. And then Angelina Cortello is gonna, on September 9th, is going to also lead us through like creating pampering skin products, like do-it-yourself type things, like with lotions and body scrubs. And then we're gonna kind of depart a little bit from our, Joe's here. Oh wait, hold on. Yay. We're going to depart after that into a couple sessions from kind of this, I mean, I think it's still self-care, but it's just slightly different. We've asked in our partners at PWN who are going to, and specifically the executive director, Nana Khanna, who I'm sure many of you know, who's a powerhouse, and they do a lot of great work around Get Out the Vote. And so she's going to lead a session around ways that we can all kind of make sure that we're, you know, organized for ourselves, as well as, you know, helping others in the community make sure that they're registered, and just tactics. before the election. And then we have a session after that in early October that will be led by a nationally recognized nutrition expert, Maya Feller, who is a registered dietitian nutritionist and also has a lot of experience working within the HIV community. And Olivia has met her. And we thought after that session with Portia, where she was talking a little bit about like her veganism and different like fasts, and there seems to be a lot of questions around that. And we thought that it would be really helpful for us to have someone who, you know, is an expert in this field and can talk to us about nutrition as it relates to our immune systems, you know, and even with HIV and inflammation and all of that. So, so we're really excited about that. So hi, Joe. So welcome everyone. And I'll just remind you all that Gina is here. She's wearing her social work hat. If anyone needs any, you know, to speak to her either online or offline about things that are happening. She's our expert social worker / awesome CAB member / WRI member / all around Wonder Woman. And then Olivia is also here as our kind of helping with the chat and moderating, and will relay questions to Mel. And I will hand it over to them to say hello. And just, you know, I'm going to let Mel talk a bit more about her session, but just as for those of you who don't know, Mel has been with the Well Project community for about, you know, maybe 6 years or more, but definitely at least 6 years, because she started blogging with A Girl Like Me back in 2014. And we were just talking a little bit about that being kind of her first foray into talking about living with HIV, and she was able to do it kind of from a safe space across the pond. And so we're just really excited to have her lead this session today. So anyway, so Gina and Olivia, if you want to say hi, and then we'll pass the mic.
Yeah,
hey everybody.
Oh, you guys.
Go ahead, Oh.
Mine's quick. Y'all know the drill. I'm on the chat. You got questions, I'll make sure that they get to that Mel gets them in good time. And if you have any concerns or needs, I'll be over there moderating the chat for that. And it's really nice to see everybody's face today. I'll just turn it over to Gina before Mel starts.
Hey, as Olivia said, I'm here doing the thing that I've been wanting to do with y'all, but nobody's needed me. But if you do, you can put it in the chat, send me your email, and I'll make sure that I follow up with you as soon as this is over. But just know that I'm here for you. I'm gonna go off camera, but I am here.
Thanks, Gina.
Mel.
Okay.
Right, Mel.
Thank you. So yeah, as Krista was saying, I am a blog. Well, I am a blogger, even though I haven't blogged for a long time. But I blog, and I used to work within the HIV community, but I am now living with HIV for 20 years. And one of the things that I do is I'm a mindfulness teacher. So I teach mindfulness in schools, I teach mindfulness in my community. And so when this came up as, you know, what would we like to do? How can we support each other? I suggested that I shared a bit about mindfulness, because it is something that I have found very beneficial for me living with stress and difficult times. So a little bit about mindfulness to start off with. And I can see Brenda's wearing a hippie soul t-shirt, and I think the thing is about mindfulness or meditation is that it is got this kind of hippie, it's a hippie thing, but it's really not. It is something that we all do, and you probably already do it in some point in your life. It's just that you don't call it mindfulness. So having that focused attention, being fully present, is something that you may do as you parent, or as you cook, many different things, but you don't actually call it mindfulness. So just I want to start by taking away that kind of idea that it's a hippie thing or that it's a religious thing. It is something that we all do, and it's a very natural state for us as human beings. So one of the reasons why it's really come a lot into culture, into education, into business, into the world is because there's been a lot of science behind it, a lot of research into the effectiveness of practicing mindfulness. And this is because they've done a lot of, they've managed now to be able to map the mind and to learn much more about the mind and how the brain works. So, you know, we have 86 billion neurons here in our brain, and each synaptical connection is connected to 10,000. And what they found is that with mindfulness practice, we can actually change, it's called neuroplasticity, we can actually change the structure of our brain. So really with mindfulness, you need to sign up on a course. There's so many courses now, courses available online. Sign up on a course and practice it. Because it's just like, and I'm disappointed not to see Susan here today, but it's like Susan did with her exercises. You know, when after that day when we did the exercise, my arms ached because I don't often exercise my arms, but Susan has very strong arms. But what I have is I've exercised this ability to focus. I've exercised this muscle of awareness that we call. And so I'm very strong with that. Just like, you know, if you asked to do one sit-up, if you're asked to do 100 sit-ups just right now, you probably wouldn't be able to. But if you did one sit-up one day, 10, the next day, 20, and you built up gradually, you'd be able to do it. And the same with mindfulness practice. Initially, and in this session, you might find it quite difficult, quite challenging. But if you practice, it does become easier, but then it can also become difficult again. I mean, I've been practicing for 10 years now, and there are still times, especially times when there's a lot of stress, a lot of things going on, that it's difficult. And then that's the practice. The practice is noticing that it's difficult. Okay, so I think because we've got a bit of time, yeah, we've run a bit late because of technical difficulties. Maybe we'll just start with a practice, and then we can have some time for questions afterwards. So mindfulness as a practice is really just focusing in the present moment, in the here and now. And this is why it can really support us with stress, because stress is here. You know, as women living with HIV, that there's stress here, and it's rather than allowing it to take over or to be overwhelmed by it, to come back to the present moment can help us to make different choices about it and to manage it. So for me, with my, let's take the diagnosis of HIV, I could have initially thoughts of, you know, thoughts in the future. Oh, I'm going to die. It's going to be terrible. No one's going to love me. All these different thoughts connected to the future. Or I could have thoughts connected to the past about, oh, I'm so angry. Why did it happen? I was so stupid. All these different. So you can have thoughts of the past, thoughts of the future. But just right now, here am I, healthy, you know, roof over my head, relatively financially stable, biologically, you know, really well. So actually being fully present with what it is helps me rather than getting into the past or the future. So when we're doing a practice, we're actually going to use in this practice our body. So we're going to come to the present moment, the sensations in our body. And our mind is going to wander, because that's what our mind does. It tries to make sense of the world all the time. So every time you practice being in the present, your mind's going to go, oh, what's this? And then you bring it back. It's going to go, oh, what's that? Who's that? What's that smell? What's going on over there? And you bring it back. So when the mind wanders, it's not for you to then go, ah, my mind's wandering. It's terrible. I hate it. I'm angry. Why can't I do this? It's so difficult. this is really the important practice, is to be kind to yourself and just say, oh, okay, my mind is wandering, and then come back. And that was the real revolutionary practice for me, is to actually notice how critical I was of myself, and how I could actually then, once I'd noticed that and recognized that, come back to the present. Off I'd go, be cruel, be harsh, be critical, and come back. And then I started thinking, oh, I'm being critical again. Oh, I'm being critical again. And then it would be like, oh, what if I was kind again? You know, what if I had a different way? And then I started strengthening different neural pathways. So really, there's a lot of information. So what I'd like to do is to do a practice so that we are going to sit. I'm going to guide you to just be fully present with your body. So we're going to do like a very simple body scan, but we're going to do it sitting up. And you can close your eyes if you want, or if you don't want to, just lower your gaze so that you're not distracted by all the information on the Zoom. I have a beautiful bell here that we were practicing ringing before. I'm going to ring that at the beginning of the practice and at the end of the practice. Okay, and in the practice, I'm just going to guide you to focus your attention in the present moment on different parts of your body, and we're going to scan the body. So just to be in the present moment. And then I'm going to ring the bell, and maybe we'll have some conversation about how that practice was, or what mindfulness is, or how mindfulness supports you. We'll just see what comes up. Okay? So because I can't see everyone, you don't necessarily have to be sitting up, but I would advise to be sitting up as best you can, symmetrical, balanced, rolling your shoulders back, your feet beneath your knees, your palms, you can either rest them on your lap, palms up, palms down, or you can even do a position like that, however you feel comfortable, but don't just let them hang down, because then they'll get heavy. We're going to do a practice, just a quick practice for about 7-8 minutes. Okay? So let's begin by just arriving here on your seat, in the room. Closing your eyes if you want. Or if you're not comfortable with that, just lowering your gaze. And beginning by directing your attention, focusing your attention on your feet on the floor. So noticing how it feels in your toes and your heels. Noticing perhaps a sense of contact with the floor or your socks or shoes. And getting a sense of the ground beneath you. And if your mind wanders, as it will do, no, that's okay. And just bringing it back with kindness, to focusing your attention on your feet on the floor. Your toes, your soles, your heels. Being aware of any pressure, any texture, any sensations. There's no right or wrong sensation. Just experiencing your feet as they are in this moment, here and now. And then moving your focus of attention up from your feet to your ankles. No need to move or change position, just being aware of what sensations there are. And if you can feel no sensations, just noticing that. And moving your awareness up through your shins and your calves to your knees. To your thighs. To your bum on the chair, feeling supported here. And if your mind wanders, just bringing it back to the sound of my voice and to the sensations in your body. Your bum being here, supported. And then to your belly. Perhaps noticing how your belly rises and falls as you breathe. And moving up through your chest, your torso, your shoulders, moving down to your arms, elbows, your hands resting on your lap. Just exploring, investigating what sensations there are in your body. Focusing your attention on your hands, your fingers, your fingertips. Noticing if your mind is distracted, and then bringing it back. Now from your fingers coming all the way back up through your arms, your shoulders, your head resting on the top of your spine. Relaxing your face, your forehead, your jaw, which is often a place where we hold tension, just relaxing that. Perhaps resting the roof of your tongue on the roof of your mouth, placing your mouth in the position of a smile. Just noticing how that feels. And then seeing if you can focus just on your breath, wherever you feel it most vividly. Either in your nostrils, perhaps the air flowing in and out. Perhaps back to your belly, rising and falling. Or your chest and lungs expanding as you inhale and exhale. And seeing if you can just stay with the breath, breathing in and breathing out. Just noticing that sensation as best you can. And in a few moments, I'm going to ring the bell. Just keep your eyes closed until you can hear it no more. And then gently open your eyes. And maybe take a really deep breath in, really fill your lungs to full capacity. And a deep breath out, really exhaling deeply. So that was just a very simple practice to share with you, something that you can do when you are stressed, when you notice that things are happening while you're in the middle of a storm. You can't change a lot of what is happening, especially in COVID. You can't change if a storm's coming, you can't change structural racism immediately, but you can change how you are in this present moment. And if you are grounded in the present moment, then you're more able to make choices that serve you, rather than choices that continue to stress you or perpetuate anxiety. So that's why I did that practice, because it's a very grounding practice to start with the feet connected with the floor. Your body is always accessible to you, and you don't need someone to guide you. You don't need a fancy bell. You can just sit, feel your feet on the floor, just ground yourself, focus with your breathing, take a moment, and then from that present moment, the stress will still be there, but you will be in a much more balanced place, a much more focused place, and able to perhaps make different neural pathways, make different connections. So, Olivia, I'd like to know if there's any questions then, please. Or if anyone wants to go live with any questions about how that practice was.
As far as the chat, just so you know, there have not been any questions. I think folks are really focused on the practice, which is wonderful, by the way. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah. Also, if there is no questions, then I'll carry on talking about me. Because I found it, you know, I used to be a very angry person, a very resentful, bitter person, but I didn't know it. I didn't really know that was what was driving me. And when I first started to do a course in mindfulness, I had this opportunity to increase this awareness of actually what thoughts were driving me, what was my, I like to call it like a default pattern, what was my natural, you know, what was the way that I went without consciously being aware. And so when I started to become conscious of actually the pattern that I have is this very critical, this very angry, this very resentful person, then I was able to look more into the layers of what that was. And it's a very interesting thing, perception, because once you have this perception or once you have this awareness, there is a shift just in the fact that you have that awareness, just in the fact that you notice that. So it might not necessarily be immediately that you're at peace and everything's at one with the world, but you'll just be like, wow, I'm a real worrier. You know, I really worry all the time, or wow, I'm really impatient. And you might continue to be impatient. And actually, impatience might really serve you, you know, but you are aware of it rather than it being unconscious. And, you know, this is the thing, as human beings in this society, in this culture, in this world at the moment, we are encouraged to just react and to be our behavior to be driven by these unconscious reactive patterns, and not to actually really look or take responsibility for our choices. So mindfulness can really help us and support us to be aware and to sit with difficulty, you know, to actually, it's not comfortable to look and think, wow, okay, that's really what it is, or that's really what society is. You know, it's much easier to numb ourselves or distract ourselves or to carry on or to, you know, just, you know, and there's nothing wrong with those coping strategies. You know, that's the other thing, like, to this importance of being kind to myself. You know, when I look back at how I was, you know, a very angry, very bitter person who really, you know, was very distracted by what was going on, that actually served me in that time. You know, it kept me alive. It kept me going, you know, and that's what I needed to do. So I recognize that's how I was. Don't beat myself up about it, but it means that that recognition allows me to be who I am now.
That was very enjoyable, and I think I'm going to use it a lot.
Okay, good.
Mel, I think it was Chris who had a question about, can you explain how you started to practice mindfulness and how it was introduced to you?
Okay, so as we started with, I think that's why I defend that, you know, I try and cut out the hippie, because I was a hippie and I did do a lot of meditation early in the day, and Reiki and chakras and all these lovely things. And that's why I say mindfulness is very different, because I used to do that, and, you know, a visualization or a meditation practice that takes you up a mountain or in a lake and it's beautiful and there's white light healing, fantastic. Don't knock it at all. But for me, when I first went onto a course of mindfulness, when my first course was a mindfulness-based stress reduction, I was like, oh wow, this is it. This is now. This is really me. This is my shit. Whereas the going off to the mountain, great, it served me, but it was just going somewhere else. It wasn't actually dealing with my shit. Yeah, so my very first introduction to mindfulness was to do a mindfulness-based stress reduction course. And then I was like, wow, okay, this is what it's all about. And it helped me so much that then I continued and trained, and that's what I teach now. So I would like to say that I practice, you know, when I was traveling, this was why I started the introduction saying that, you know, we do mindfulness. When I was traveling, I used to do a lot of walking. I traveled a lot, and I'd wake up every morning fully present, fully mindful, fully open to where I was, walking, experiencing, non-judgmental, focusing on what was. And that was a mindful practice. But I didn't call it mindfulness. I just called it, you know, traveling and being open to what experience there was. So, you know, we could say, you know, when I teach kids, they are fully present. Kids are amazing teachers. They're in the moment most of the time. So, you know, we practice mindfulness. We do mindfulness all our lives. But it's that's when I actually tried to learn and did the course and studied it, that was as an MBSR course. Yeah. Does that make sense? Okay. Any other questions?
One thing that you just said, and I feel like it worries me as it pertains to kids as well as us, you know, that I feel like growing up and we didn't have all this distraction and the phones and the devices and the internet and everything, and there was a lot of time to be bored and, you know, let your mind wander and have that sense of this. And now I feel like, you know, just even speaking for myself, but for seeing my children, like that there is almost none of that. And that's so why I think this is so important, but it's trying to figure out how to engage children to have that quiet time, or ourselves even.
To be bored. Kids need to be bored. You know, it's really interesting. But it's interesting what you say about also, you know, we had this opportunity for our minds to wander. And there's even at ACE 2020, there was, you know, great. They taught a bit about mindfulness, but the person who shared stuff was saying, oh, mind wandering is really bad. You know, we don't want to mind wander. When the mind wanders, come back to the present moment. And I know that practice was about that, because that was an exercise in being able to hold attention. But we don't ever want to not let our minds wander. when our minds wander, it can be beautiful. You know, we can go to fantasies. We can, you know, look at the creative writing we did. That was pure mind wandering, wasn't it? We allowed our minds to wander and we created beautiful things. When our mind is wandering and it serves us, that's great. You know, we get solutions, we get fantasies, we get all sorts of wonderful things. Yeah. It's when our mind wanders to catastrophe or to disaster or to, we have a thing called ruminating. I don't know if you know that, where you overthinking, you have a thought, why did she say that? I don't know why she said, I should have said this, and then you say, she said this, and you just, it's like ruminating is like what a cow does. It eats the grass, it swallows it, it comes back up, it chews it again, it swallows it, it comes back up, it chews. And that's the kind of mind wandering that doesn't necessarily serve us, because it's the same thing. And it's just overthinking, and it's just that's what causes us stress. Yeah, when it's not good wandering, when it's not serving us. So we have like the ruminating, the overthinking, the catastrophizing. You know, this storm's coming, the house is going to blow away, the trees. You know, we don't. That doesn't necessarily serve us. So that's when we notice that wandering. That's when we can come back to the present. But I do kind of say that if the wandering serves us, then follow it. You know, even in practice. Often when I'm on retreat, I'm not fully present. I'm wandering somewhere beautiful, and that's okay, because that's serving me in that time. It's when I'm wandering to like things that don't serve me that it's like, okay, come back, or just noticing, oh, okay, that's interesting, and then coming back and then going again. So thank you for that question. Yeah. Olivia.
Yeah, so there's another question from Joe. Let me read it word for word. Did you learn to practice mindfulness from a teacher or a book or self-help through the internet? How did you go to that first course?
So the first course I learned from a teacher, and I went to do the course, and then we had the practice at home. But, you know, like we're here on Zoom, and I have taught courses on Zoom, it can work. You know, if I don't knock online practices, I don't knock apps. I have people that come to me I've done Headspace for a year, you know, I can do this. And then they come to the course and they go, oh my gosh, this is completely different, you know, and it's different levels. So it becomes much deeper, I think, the more you practice and the different things that you do. So, you know, I don't knock an app. I don't say you have to attend physically a course with everyone, with all participants, with a fully qualified teacher. You know, like we talked earlier, what works for you? Different things work for different people. So, you know, even there's so many books now. You know, if you find a book works for you, follow the guidance in a book. I think the thing about doing a course that was really significant for me was I shared living with HIV with the general public, you know, and I was greeted with this non-judgment. And I was just like, wow, okay, so really all this stigma is internal. It really is in my head. I mean, yes, it was a great group of people who, you know, but there was that interaction. And when I'm teaching, it's a lot of this, a sense of common humanity, which you don't necessarily get from a book. With a book, you're still caught up. You know, when you're doing an exercise and someone is repeating what you've said, or someone is sharing something, you think, oh, God, oh, that's something that I do. That's when you get this sense of, wow, I'm not that bad a person. I'm just the same as everyone else. And that to me is really healing. And so you don't necessarily get that from a book or an app. Yeah, so I would recommend joining a course, but you know, they're cheaper and cheaper now. Yeah. Any other questions? No?
Not at present. Brenda was saying she's done Headspace. Side
Mm-hmm.
note, quickly, for people who may have small children, Headspace has teamed with, they have like Sesame Street Headspace videos that a friend sent to my little girl. and she really loves them, like called monster meditations, and it's all these.
Yeah.
For practitioners of mindfulness, you'll recognize them, but obviously there are Muppets doing it, or like Muppets dealing with stressful things, or Muppets trying to go to bed. So it's really cute.
Yeah.
If you like. Also.
I mean, it's great. It's great, and kids, it's just so brilliant as a practice to that's why I love teaching kids, because it's such a skill to give them. Again, this sense that, that's why I started talking about the mind. When you teach an angry young boy about the amygdala, this part of the brain that is fight, flight, or freeze, and that's human. That's how he's wired. That's just the amygdala firing, to fight. And he can have a choice. He can stop, pause, and make a choice to react or to respond wisely. And then you have 9-year-old who I think, could have grown up thinking he was angry, he was bad, all these things. Suddenly like, oh, wow. And he comes and says, Miss, I had a fight in the playground and then my amygdala kicked in, and you just think, wow, such a great thing, to teach kids. If we'd have learned that as kids about how our mind works and how to be more conscious and more aware, I think we'd be in a different society. So that's my other kind of hat beyond the HIV community, is to teach young people awareness, and then you get that kind of social responsibility as well. That's so important. Okay.
So cool.
So if we have no other questions, then I said to Krista that I'd like to end on a gratitude practice. So if you're all up for that, maybe we'll do that quickly, and then I'll give you some time at the end, Krista, just to say goodbye, yeah? Okay. So because I've been sitting down, and perhaps you've been sitting down, the next practice I would always like to just, if you can, stand up and just have a bit of what I call a shaggy dog. If anyone's ever seen a shaggy dog, when they get out of the water and they shake themselves all the way up from the bottom to the top, and it just wakes you up, brings you back to your body again, because that's what it is. So just have a shake and then come back to your seat. That's it. Shake it out and then come back to your seat. Just that simple exercise. When you come back, it feels a bit different to be arriving after a little shake. So again, just sitting as we were before, upright, closing your eyes. And we're going to do what I call a gratitude practice, which is focusing on the good. A lot of times mindfulness is all about dealing with stress, but what mindfulness really also taught me was to appreciate, to have a sense of gratitude for what we do have. John Kabat-Zinn, who was the greatest teacher, first original teacher, said, if you're breathing, there is more right with you than wrong with you. And I think, at the end of the day, if we are all here breathing, there's something to be grateful for. So perhaps let's just settle again, feeling our feet on the floor. Thumb on the chair, shoulders relaxed, gaze lowered or your eyes closed as best you can. And just focusing on your breath, breathing in and breathing out. And what I'd like you to do is allow your mind to wander just a little, to imagine someone or something that you are grateful for. Someone that's been kind to you, that said something or did something that you can feel grateful for. And just noticing how it feels. If there is any sense of ease or softening as you bring this person to mind. If you can't think of someone, maybe think of a place that you're grateful for, or perhaps even this staying well at home community. Just allowing that image, that thought of something that you're grateful for to come to your mind. And noticing how it feels in your heart. Any sense of expansion or warmth. So again, your mind will wander, but seeing if you can just focus it on how you're feeling just right now, and a sense of gratitude and appreciation. Perhaps putting your mouth in a smile. And breathing in that goodness. And as you exhale, saying thank you. Thank you to this person, this place. Thank you for that act of kindness. And now also saying thank you to yourself for being here, for giving yourself this opportunity to practice gratitude, present moment awareness. So just being here as you are, complete and whole. So breathing in and breathing out and saying thank you. And allowing that sensation, like dropping into a pond and seeing how the ripples of gratitude flow out from your heart through your whole body, and then out beyond to the community here at the Well Project and beyond. So just staying with that sensation for a few moments more as I ring the bell. And then when you can hear it no more, gently open your eyes. Beautiful. So I would like to say thank you for having this opportunity. And just on that, focusing on the good, even in the storms, even in the chaos, even in the COVID, there is always something that we can find to be grateful for. Grateful for our children, grateful for our breath, grateful for a roof over our head. And this ability to focus on the good can strengthen those pathways. And that means that in your daily life, when you're not practicing, you are more able to access that and be more happy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mel. It's just such a great way to spend an hour and remind us to take time to ground ourselves and remind ourselves to think about those things we're grateful for. Because I don't think, I think flashes happen, that's good and I appreciate that person and this, these things, but to actually be intentionally trying to think about all those things that you're grateful for and spend time really thinking about it is important. So I appreciate you doing this with us today, and thank you so much. And thank you for everyone who's here. I'm grateful for all of you. And thank you, Olivia, for guiding the chat and our discussion. So I know that, I mean, from the comments and in the chat, it definitely helped a lot of people as well. So including my mom, who said, and I know from experience, you know, sometimes it's just hard to calm your mind. So I think just going through this practice for those of us who are new to it or have done it in the past, but maybe aren't doing it presently, it's a good reminder of how we can stop. I know that I used to regularly try and take time like this every day, and I haven't for some time, and going through this process reminds me that this is important. So
I mean, me too, Krista. So be kind to yourself. You know, I'm a facilitator, I'm a teacher, and you know, I backslide sometimes, you know, and that's the thing, to be kind to yourself and recognize that, okay, yeah, I haven't practiced, and that's okay, and to practice again, and not to be thinking that you need everything and you need these 10 minutes, an hour, half an hour. Just, you know, holding that gratitude just for a breath, you know, can really make a big difference. Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything they want to say before we leave? No? Well, thank you all for being here. And again, just, yeah, I think try and go back to this when your mind starts reeling on all those things, like Mel was saying. You know, I think we all probably have a tendency to go off into like a whirlwind of dark thoughts with everything going on, and you know, so this is a good way to maybe just stop and pull it back, and then maybe even try and remind ourselves to again be kind to ourselves and try and break some of those cycles. So
yeah, I mean, I think as activists, it's there is that tendency to sort of deal with it and cope with it and have that momentum, but I think, you know, it's very important to come from a grounded position, because you can get taken away with it.
Olivia, Gina, you have anything else to add? No?
No, I don't.
Okay. Well, thank you again, Mel, for doing this today. I really appreciate it. I can see everyone else appreciates it too. And we'll see you guys in a couple weeks.
See you in a couple of weeks. Yeah. Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
See you soon.